If any woman is born lucky, I was born with curves. And, if I may be modest, curves that don't even need applause, they're cheered just by walking down the hall of the mansion. Since I was a girl, I've heard hushed whispers between fans, disguised comments between crystal glasses, and those lingering glances from gentlemen offering to carry crates of vegetables just to see if my corset will give way on the next step. Back then, I lived in an old manor house, inherited from a great uncle who never married. It was one of those mansions where the creaking of the woodwork knows more secrets than the maids. My room was on the upper floor, with windows overlooking the greenhouse and the lewd conversations of the servants. I used to go to the village market every week with my straw basket to buy quinces, rye bread, and bar soap. I'd come back looking like someone parading at a ball, with my white linen blouse tight around my bust and my skirt swaying as if I were dancing on my own. I enjoyed the looks, if you know what I mean. It was on one of these walks that he appeared, Benedict, the husband of Mrs. Clemence, from cabin number 8. He wasn't a man who turned heads. He was the kind who went unnoticed as a discreet butler, but he had a dangerous flaw. He was kind, and too much kindness, in those days, almost always came dressed in boldness. "May I help you with the basket, miss?" he asked, as if offering poisoned sugar. "If you'd like to take it to the kitchen, I'll take it." I replied, looking at him with the firmness of someone who knew where he was aiming, and it wasn't the vegetables. I led the way up, feeling his eyes linger on the curve of my waist. I wore a tighter skirt than proper manners advised, and a blouse with strategically undone buttons. I closed the kitchen door and let him enter with the basket. He stumbled over his own words as I purposefully bent over to put the groceries in the low cupboards, the fabric of my skirt pulling in the right place. I offered him water, but he refused. He preferred to watch, pretending to notice the labels on the cans, when in reality he was staring at my cleavage. And I let him. I let him because I knew the game, and I loved to play. From then on, it became routine. Whenever I returned from the village, there was Benedict, sometimes at the entrance to the greenhouse, sometimes pretending to walk the dog, sometimes claiming that Clemence had forgotten her keys and needed to call, even though, back then, telephones were a rare thing. There was one particular afternoon when I decided to test the limits of this happily married man. I donned a tight-fitting dress without petticoats or modesty, just to buy a packet of flour and a bottle of port. I climbed the steps slowly, knowing exactly what that dress was saying. "Come." On the 3rd flight of stairs, I heard footsteps. It was him. We feigned surprise. He laughed awkwardly, leaned in behind me, and by his breathing, I knew the heat was already rising in his forehead. "Is everything okay back there, Mr. Benedict?" I whispered sarcastically. He coughed, and I smiled, as if I'd already won the match, without needing more than a glance. The climax came one Saturday. I was in a thin sweater and knee-high socks cleaning the porch. I saw him walk past with the dog. He looked, and I didn't hide it. I leaned against the wall, raised my leg a little more than I needed to, and let him see whatever he wanted to see. After that, the notes began. "If you need help with the firewood, I'm here. If you want company over a glass, I have good things to talk about. I saw you in blue yesterday. I'll never forget." I collected them. I kept them all in my sock drawer because only those who've seen me without a skirt touch them. Mrs. Clemence, dry and bland, didn't even look at me. Maybe she knew. Maybe she just felt it because a woman feels it when a man looks at another's flesh. And I knew. I knew that what had begun with, "Let me take the basket," would end with much more than bread being placed on the table. The following Monday, I came upstairs with a full basket right on time. And like an actor entering a scene, there he was, wrinkled shirt, hungry eyes. "You're right on time," I said, looking exhausted. He didn't answer. He just took the basket and followed me, silently, to the top of the stairs. This time, I left the kitchen door open. He stopped in the doorway. "Come in. I won't bite." I teased, my back to him, slowly lowering myself. I knew he was watching. I knew he was no longer in control of himself. We stayed like that for long seconds, desire lingering in the air, like incense about to set the temple ablaze. "One of these days, I'll take that glass of wine," he said, his voice breaking. I leaned against the counter and looked at him with a smile that spoke volumes. "When I do, it won't stop at the first glass." He laughed, scratching the back of his neck as if trying to come to his senses, but his senses had already left him at the bottom, on the first step. Before leaving, he gave me one last look. "If I come in here again, miss, it won't be to talk anymore." I closed the door slowly. I looked at the key and didn't lock it. So, my dear listener, did you really think this story would end just at the kitchen door? Well, stick around, because the next chapter promises wine. Served warm, if you know what I mean. Enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell because the next glass will be impossible to refuse. Oh, and I'd let him and give him back. Because, let's face it, a good flirtation is like a game of chess. No one wants to checkmate right away. The morning after that last silent visit, I found Benedict in the greenhouse foyer, coming from the stable, with my shirt half open and a straw hat in my hand. I was wearing riding breeches tight, dark, the kind that don't even hide a sly thought. He looked at me as if he saw a painting he wanted to touch. He smirked and with a sly boldness whispered, "Those breeches should be banned." "If it's a crime, you can arrest me too," I replied, crossing my arms and flashing a mischievous smile. "Careful, what if I decide to handcuff you?" I retorted. He coughed, laughed, trying to maintain his composure, but his eyes had been undressing me for days. The next day, I went down to the gate to pick up a package, a fine fabric from Paris, ordered months ago, wearing only a light linen blouse, no corset underneath, because the heat was relentless. And me, well, too. On the way back, who was pretending to water the jasmines that didn't belong to them? Of course, Benedict. "The most fragrant neighbor is back," he said, as if casting a net into the river. "And the most daring neighbor too," I replied, passing slowly, feeling his gaze glued to my skin like the morning humidity on the living room windows. He bit his lower lip. He stood there, holding the hose with one hand and his imagination with the other. But the night was another chapter. It was raining heavily, a typical seasonal storm. The mansion was dark, only the flickering light of candles and emergency lamps in the hallways. I lit a candle on the sideboard, poured a glass of wine, and went to the balcony, wearing an almost translucent nightgown, as clinging to my body as longing sticks to my skin. I opened the door, and he was there. Dog in my lap, shirt soaked, eyes wetter than the weather. "I thought I was the only fool walking around in this darkness," he said with that smirk that had become his trademark. "A fool is the wife who lets her husband go out like that, wet, shirtless, dangerous," I retorted, biting the corner of my mouth. He took a step forward. We stood less than a meter apart. The dog was trembling, so was he. "You're always teasing me, you know," he said in a whisper that sent chills down my spine. "And you're always here in my hallway, staring too much and saying too little. And you're always parading around with that body, that mouth, that look of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Who said it's for you? It's not, but it works." We stood there, a sinful silence. Neither hand touched the other, but the eyes, the eyes did what the hands still feared. 2 days later, he appeared at my door with the flimsiest excuse a man has ever dared to give. "My wife fell asleep. I need to fix a lock, but I don't want to make any noise. Do you have a screwdriver?" "It depends on what you're going to do with it." Here, silence is also relative. I teased, opening the door with a lopsided smile. He entered slowly. He looked around as if measuring the risk before falling into the abyss, and then he asked, "If I tell you the lock I want to change isn't even on the cabinet, will you kick me out?" "It depends. If I know how to use the right key, maybe I'll even open it wider." As I washed the glass in the sink, he approached from behind. He spoke in a low voice, his breath warm on my neck. "You're a damned thing." I turned my face just enough to feel his breath. I smiled. "And you have no idea how late you are." He braced his hands on the counter, surrounding me. His body screamed. His morale tried to resist. "Sometimes I think about leaving here, just to stop thinking about you," he confessed, his eyes locked on mine. "You should stop thinking and do. A man who thinks too much misses the best part of history. I'm going to end up walking through that door and doing something I shouldn't," he threatened. "Somewhere between desire and fear." "Too late. You're already in." He lowered his gaze. He sighed. Before leaving, he turned. "If I come back, it won't be to talk." I closed the door slowly, and once again, I didn't lock it. That night, I went to the window. Outside, the rain dripped on the roof as if writing a message. The mansion was dark, silent, and inside me, his words echoed. I knew, he knew, the universe knew. The teasing game was coming to an end. The following week, I was home, hair tied back with a ribbon, a glass of wine in my hand, and a pair of sleep shorts that could barely be called clothing. His wife had gone away. She'd left a note at the concierge desk saying she'd gone to the country to visit her ailing mother. Benedict was alone, and I, restless. The little flower under the silk danced in the wind. I took a sheet of paper. I wrote, I erased, I rewrote, until I took a deep breath and told the floor servant, "Tell the gentleman in cabin 8 that there's open wine in cabin 7, and the conversation can, if necessary, be served with less clothing." It didn't take 3 minutes. A knock on the door. I opened it. He was there. His gaze said, "Hold me," but his body no longer obeyed reason. I didn't say anything. I just turned and left the door ajar. He came in. I closed the door slowly, a silent pact. When I turned, he was looking at me as if I were the last piece of candy in the display case, and he was hungry. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I'm even sure of the color of your underwear," I replied with a smirk, approaching with the wine in my hand. The kiss was urgent, like someone who'd spent nights craving what was now within reach. His mouth was warm, his beard grazed my chin, and his hand ran down my back, holding me as if he never wanted to let go. "You're a problem," he murmured, his mouth on my neck. "And you're the gardener who's going to make me blossom completely," I retorted, already reaching for the zipper of his pants. "My little flower." She was wet, but not from shyness, from anticipation, pulsing as if crying out, "Open me." And when the moment came, he knelt on the edge of the bed, as if about to pray. But the prayer was different. So, will he come back? Or will he stay this time? If you're also here holding your breath, comment below what you think will happen in the next chapter. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I want to know if you're enjoying this story and where you're watching from. I'll see you in the next episode, with more wine, more secrets, and less clothes, if you know what I mean. Afterward, we lay there, sweaty, breathing as if trying to regain our wits and breath. The golden morning light filtered through the heavy curtains, and the air smelled of orange blossom and sin. Before falling asleep, he whispered in my ear, his voice hoarse with sated desire, "Now, I understand why you never locked the door. I smiled, my body still vibrating inside. Because a delicate flower only opens to a firm hand and the right tool, I replied in a light, almost innocent tone. The next morning, around 9 o'clock, I heard the door knocker knock 3 times, sharply, quickly, as if not asking for permission, but demanding an explanation. A shiver ran down my spine. That knock wasn't a servant's, it was confrontational. I opened the door, and there she was, Mrs. Adeline Beaumont, the wife of Mr. Edgard, the man who until the night before had called me relief, shelter, desire pent up for years. But there, standing before me, there was nothing absent about her. She was whole, her eyes were bright, steady, and her anger was as starched as her linen dress. "We need to talk," she said, dryly, as if anticipating a storm. I stood still for 2 seconds. My heart slipped through my corset, landing in my heels. But I opened it. This wasn't the kind of visitor you ignore behind the curtain. She entered as if she already knew the area. Her eyes scanned the room, resting on the forgotten wine glass, the blanket draped over the sofa, the small necklace I'd left on the table. She sat down, lifted her purse, and withdrew a thin, light-colored leather briefcase. She opened it with surgical calm. Inside, handwritten notes in handwriting I recognized, a linen handkerchief that belonged to me, newspaper clippings with social notes, even a photograph of him, leaving my building, holding flowers. "They left too many traces," she said without looking at me. "Men who cheat think they're smart, but deep down, they always want to be caught." "And what did you come here for?" I asked. "To beat me? To humiliate me?" "I came to look you in the eyes. That's all." "And what do you see?" She took a deep breath, calmly crossed her legs, but her fingers trembled on her skirt. "A woman like me, only willing to swallow the guilt as long as it comes with a kick." That hit like a slap, but I remained erect, chin held high. "I didn't owe you anything. The one who betrayed you slept next to you." She smiled, cold, the smile of a woman who has cried alone. "That's right. And you know what hurt the most? It wasn't him leaving my bed. It was him carrying the scent of another woman on his skin." Silence fell between us like a tablecloth covering a mess. "He told me that with you he laughed, that he felt like a man again. I thought it was just a fantasy of an old man wanting to feel young. But it wasn't. You're not a fantasy. You're a threat, because you're real." I remained still, like someone listening to their own reflection speak. "I never wanted to destroy anything," she said firmly. "But I also wasn't made to deny what I desire, and I desired him, and he desired me. It happened." She laughed bitterly. "It happened. Love is something that happens. Lying is a choice. He lied. You chose to believe him." I got up. I went to the sink. I splashed water on my face. When I came back, she was still sitting there, like she owned my space. "Does he love you?" she asked. "I never said that." "Better. If he had, I'd call you even more foolish." She got up, walked to the door, stopped. "He's going to come here. He's going to say you're his new love. He's going to promise things he never kept. And if you accept, congratulations, you just became me." And left, without even slamming the door. 2 hours later, guess what? Edgar appeared. "She was here?" "She was," I confirmed. "And she told you everything you deserve to hear." He looked smaller. His shoulders, once broad, now slumped. His courage melted with sweat. "She left," he said. "She said it's over. She's going to her sister's house, and I'm here." "For what?" I asked. "To seek comfort?" He approached. "I came to ask for a chance. Everything I experienced with you was real. You know what else is real? Her pain, her shame, and now mine too. I fell in love, he whispered. Number, you hid in me. You used my body to escape your cowardice. I was weak. Number, you were selfish. Weak are those who cry. You lied, manipulated, deceived, and now you want a reward? I tried to keep my voice steady, but the lump in my throat tightened. He tried to come closer again. I backed away. I held out my hand. You're not coming in. Why? Because now I'm the one who locks the door. I closed it slowly, and the sound of the lock was music. Later, I went to the desk. I took out the notes, the papers with promises, the crooked verses he'd written to me. I tore them all into thin strips. I burned them one by one in the small fireplace. The ashes rose up the chimney. With them, the remains of the illusion went. The following week, I met Mrs. Lemoyne, the building manager, in the building's lobby. She looked me up and down, holding my purse as if it were a relic. "How are things?" she asked, in a voice too sweet. "Peace," I replied. And it was true. The scandal had vanished. The hubbub had died down. All that remained was the echo and the scar. But not the ugly kind. The kind that, if asked, we tell calmly, with a clear conscience of someone who lived what they wanted to live. I learned that desire sustains no one, that valid affection hurts more than absence, that a man who needs to lie to experience something intense will never be whole. Last Friday, I changed the mirror in my bedroom. I put in a large gold one with a cherry wood frame. I looked at myself completely. I wore a light silk dress. I put on ruby lipstick. And I went to dinner alone, not out of loneliness, but out of celebration. I toasted my company to the woman who survived chaos, desire, guilt, and still smiled, still slept peacefully. This story, deep down, was never about him. It was about me, about everything I had to lose to find myself. And if one day he knocks on the door again, perhaps I'll answer, but it won't be with my heart in my hand. It will be with the certainty that whoever says goodbye to illusion never again bows to error. And whoever wants to enter must bring love whole, without drafts, without excuses, and with the key to truth. If you've made it this far, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Did you like this story? Did you feel that twist in your heart? I want to know. See you in the next video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who also needs a new mirror in their living room.